Hi everyone. Welcome again to this series of conversations that we have where we show the humanized side of doctors. So today we have in conversation Dr. Shreya, who's working at Rishabhai Hospital at Center for Sight in Bombay. So welcome, Dr. Shreya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Yes. So I would like to just talk about what the purpose is to just get to know you. So your patients get to know you, or the better you, or they see on the other side of the microscope. They see the person that Dr. Shreya is, and we just get some conversation and get to know each other, and possibly the audience learns something, and we add to their information pool. So, Dr. Shreya, I just want to start by talking about how the training of a doctor in India is.
Okay.
Right. So let's say if someone is pursuing their class 12 and they've taken up science and biology, and they are still wondering, how exactly the situation of getting to become a doctor, and then what is post graduation, what is DNB, and then what is fellowships. Can you please break it down for us?
Okay. So for someone who is aspiring to become a doctor,
Yeah.
generally in India, what one would have to do is give a series of entrance exams. They have all India entrances, and then there are others for private medical colleges and all
Yes.
of that. But say you were to go through a government hospital route, then you'd have to give an all India entrance exam. Once someone cracks that exam, then you get placed in your college of choice.
Yeah.
And that involves 5.5 years of MBBS training, where you come out as a graduate,
Yes.
where you're a nobody. And then, you'd want to pursue post-graduation in whatever field of choice that you'd want, which also involves giving another entrance exam, which is much harder to, crack. But say you do that, then that involves anywhere between 3 to 6 years of training, depending on your field. And, whether you want to super specialize into, a more specialized field of your choice. So that's how it goes. So that's about
And then
10 to
you
12 odd
choose-
years of training
Yeah.
after your 12th.
And then you're still a nobody?
And then you're still a nobody when you get out there. And
So
then
you're
you
thrown
have
in the
to
pool.
climb your way up gradually,
So
up
all
the
that
ladder.
was all hoo-ha when you were said that in bus class 10 pass kar lo, life set ho jayegi.
Yeah.
Then class 12 pass kar lo, life set ho
Yeah,
jayegi.
yeah, yeah,
MBBS kar lo, sab kuch theek ho jayega. So it's a long journey.
All of that, yes. Now that was very easy for me. And then when, post training, post fellowship, you get out there and you're like,
Yeah.
ये तो किसी ने बताया ही नहीं what is all of this,
Yes.
practice the real world. That's where you
Okay.
learn.
So after you did your ophthalmology, so that's 3 years of intensive training of just the eye, but there's no
Yes.
particular part of the eye you're looking
Yes,
at, right?
yes.
So then you have to do a super specialization also.
Yeah. I mean, it's a choice. It's a very personal choice.
Okay.
It depends on what kind of practice you want to do. It depends on what your aspirations are in life. Okay, it's not a necessity. If I'm someone who's from, say, a smaller town and I want to run a very comprehensive practice, then I may not choose to do a super specialization, depending on how good my post-graduation training was.
Okay.
If I did it from a very good institute and I was very confident of my surgical and clinical skills, then I'm okay to start off a practice by myself. However, in a bigger city, and if I want to join private practice, whether it's my own or whether I want to join a corporate or a chain of hospitals or whatever, I want to have some sort of expertise, or I want to be good at one particular thing. You don't want to be jack of all trades.
Okay. You
So
won't-
that's another way of looking at it.
yeah.
That's what I wanted to do. I
Okay.
wanted to do refractive surgery. And so I did that.
So after your post graduation in ophthalmology, you did another fellowship.
I did, yes, I
in
did another
refractive surgery.
fellowship.
How long was that?
About a year and a half.
Wow. And
I did
wow.
2 fellowships actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So how walk us through your refractive surgery?
So I did a
fellowship.
fellowship in refractive surgery and cataract.
Okay.
And then I did another short-term fellowship in cornea.
Okay.
Okay,
You're dealing with the front part
essentially
of
the
the eye.
front part of the
Yeah.
eye.
The window to the world.
Yes, whatever. So the eye is a ball, and whatever happens in the front half of it is what I deal with.
Okay.
That's how I,
Okay.
explain it to
So
people.
how is
as
the
well.
refractive surgery fellowship different from your post graduation in ophthalmology?
It's very different. I feel as a refractive surgeon, or for me, my fellowship is what shaped me as a person, as a, just to go out there into practice. It's almost like finishing school. Apart from teaching it. So I was very well versed with cataract surgery.
Right.
Is what everyone learns in their post
That's the bread and
graduation.
butter
That's
of-
your bread and butter. You
Yes.
learn it, you're good at it, you come out doing a fair bit of surgeries and everything. But the confidence to do it perfectly, the fine tuning, how to deal with the more complicated things, how to plan that perfect surgery, how to give that
Yeah.
6/6 outcome, how to, do more premium things. That's what fellowship teaches you. It is finishing school in
Yes.
simple language.
Gives
It
that finesse.
polishes you. Yeah. If I had joined my practice straight up after my post grad, I would have probably done a good job. But now it gives you that polishing.
Yeah, so you have that
How
extra
you
confidence.
Yes, that extra confidence. How you talk to people. How you would deal with a lot of situations. So that's what my fellowship has taught me. Apart from, of course, the technical training and all of that, it also gives you a huge exposure into what's out there.
ओके सो थोड़ा अगर हम बात करें आपके प्रैक्टिस के बारे में,
हाँ जी।
वी सी कि ऑफ कोर्स मेजॉरिटी ऑफ योर पेशेंट्स और मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द ब्लाइंडनेस इन इंडिया इज प्रिवेंटेबल और
Correct.
ट्रीटेबल,
Correct.
राइट, एंड दैट इंक्लूड्स कैटरैक्ट्स एज अ मेजर पार्ट ऑफ इट,
Correct.
राइट. सो कैटरैक्ट बहुत कॉमन है, ऑलमोस्ट सबको होता है, जिसे हम सफ़ेद मोतियाबिंद भी कहते हैं.
जी.
तो हम एज पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट सब लर्न करते हैं कैटरैक्ट सर्जरी को, एंड सबको लर्न करना ही होता है. तो कैटरैक्ट इज आवर ब्रेड एंड बटर.
True.
सो डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ कैटरैक्ट सर्जरीज होती हैं. मतलब वी रीड पहले होती थी स्टिच वाली, जिसमें बहुत बड़ा एक टाँका चीरा लगता था, देन उस पर सूचर्स लगाते थे, मेटालिक सूचर्स भी थे कभी कभी, और अब हम आ गए एकदम रोबोटिक सर्जरी की तरफ.
जी.
सो आपने इस जर्नी में कब ज्वाइन किया कैटरैक्ट सर्जरी में?
I started off with something called small incision cataract surgery.
How is that different? Because there are so many names and our patients are not very comfortable
हाँ जी,
having a
उसको
plethora of names at
SICS
them.
कहते हैं, लेकिन
Okay.
उसमें बिन टाके की सर्जरी,
अच्छा, ओके.
हाथ वाली लेकिन बिन टाके की. उसमें हम मशीन नहीं यूज़ करते. मोतियाबिंद को बाहर निकाल देते हैं आँख में से और उसमें लेंस बिठाते हैं. जख्म भी थोड़ा बड़ा रहता है, अराउंड 5-6 मिलीमीटर्स का, लेकिन उसमें टाका नहीं लगता. उसके पहले जनरेशन वाले जो टाके वाले थे, अब वो हम करते नहीं हैं. सो दैट्स वेयर आई स्टेप्ड इन.
Okay.
ओके.
And do you think all cataract surgeries, हर सर्जरी में हमें आँख में लेंस डालना होता है? बिकॉज हम लेंस निकाल रहे हैं. That is what we have do in a cataract surgery, right?
हाँ जी. Yes, we
हम lens-
लेंस डालना होता है. So
Miss Only?
so the eye is like think of it कि जो आपकी आँख है वो एक कैमरा की तरह है.
Okay.
ओके. आँख के अंदर जो लेंस है वो कैमरा का कंडेंसिंग लेंस है.
Okay.
ओके. जिससे आपको दिखता है. जब कैटरैक्ट होता है आपकी नज़र कम हो जाती है, पर जब हम उसे निकालते हैं आँखों की रोशनी जो है वो आँख के थ्रू जाती है. लेकिन अगर वहाँ पे हम आर्टिफिशियल लेंस ना डालें तो आपको नहीं दिखेगा, क्लियरली नहीं दिखेगा, या एकदम मोटा चश्मा पहनना पड़ेगा जो एकदम पुराने ज़माने पे पहनते थे. अपने अगर ग्रेट ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स को देखा होगा जो एकदम मोटे मोटे चश्मे पहन के घुमा करते थे जब उन पे लेंसेज नहीं थे.
Right.
सो अब टेक्नोलॉजी इतनी बढ़ गई है और इतने चेंजेस आए हुए हैं कि हम जो लेंस आँख में बिठाते हैं आपके आइज़ की मेजरमेंट्स के हिसाब से होते हैं, सो दैट आपको सर्जरी के बाद ग्लासेस ना पहननी पड़े, ताकि आपकी विजन एकदम क्लियर हो.
तो जो हम वी रीड अबाउट रोबोटिक सर्जरी और फेमटो लेजर कैटरैक्ट सर्जरी,
Yes.
व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज दैट? हाउ डू यू एक्सप्लेन इट टू योर 5-year-old कि what exactly is a femto laser? What exactly is it doing to your eye? Is it like a robot is coming into the surgical room and taking out the cataract and you are sitting in your room? Or
No.
how does it work?
It's a machine. It's a fancy machine that is doing a few steps in the surgery.
Okay.
That is making it easier to do the surgery and making it more precise, adding that extra level of precision
Yeah.
and safety to the surgery.
Okay, so it's basically enabling,
It's enabling the surgeon.
yeah, to give you better results.
Yes. As of today, robotic surgery, cataract surgery is not entirely replaced by robots, as is. It's not like orthopedics where, you're sitting in one room and the
Yeah.
probe is doing something. It still has surgeon involvement, but it's enabling the surgeon to do a few things better.
Do you foresee in the near or distant future that it totally replaces us so that we are sitting in one room and
Well, I hope not, because I truly enjoy doing it. Uh, but no, jokes aside, if that is something, if the technology can be such that it increases the safety
right.
of the surgery immensely, then yes, that would be a great thing to do, to look forward to.
Okay, so there are a number of fears that the patients actually have before going into the surgery. How do you comfort the patients? We very well know that it's a cataract surgery after all. It's one of the
Yes.
most commonly performed surgeries, but there are complications with surgeries.
Yes.
Right. So how do you tell the patient that there are complications that can happen, but
Yes.
at the same time comforting the patient that he is confident to go ahead for the surgery? How do you counsel the patient, or how do you talk to the patient?
So I always tell my patients, very often they ask me, is this safe? Can you give me a guarantee? And I tell them no,
Okay.
because that would not be right. Nothing in this world comes with 100% guarantee.
Yeah.
It's your body after all, okay? And things do happen. I do explain to them the possible complications that may arise. Not in, the
Depth, but
extreme detail as
Yes.
what we would read,
Because that would actually
like the
scare the
rarest, but the
patient more
common
than
ones,
comfort,
or
yeah.
something that they could expect, because
Yes.
it's my duty to, and it's their right to
Yeah.
know. Okay, so we don't want to say that absolutely nothing's going to happen, because it can.
Yeah.
But also stressing on the fact that it's not a very common occurrence. So they know that, okay, ho sakta hai, but it's not something that happens all the time. So that helps.
So coming back to this robotic or laser surgery, do you think that this has helped you decrease the chances of complications?
Well, quite honestly, not at this stage. Because like I said, it's an enabler. It doesn't do the entire surgery. There's lots of steps involved in the surgery that are there that the laser doesn't do.
Okay.
So
is this a number of steps?
the femto, it
which-
reduces the steps. It helps. It definitely helps. Safety profile is questionable. I mean, whether it increases the safety, I can't say.
Okay. So let's say you have done the cataract surgery and the cataract is removed. Like we discussed, that we do put in a lens inside
Yes.
the eye.
Yes.
So the lens, the basic purpose of the lens is to get the eye back to the natural state as much as possible.
Correct.
So there were different generation of lenses. Initially, we had lenses where we had good vision for distance or doing their distant activities, and the patient was comfortable wearing glasses for near.
Yes.
But now technology has advanced so much that patients who are undergoing a cataract surgery have the option of actually getting independence from glasses at that age.
Yes.
Right? Traditionally, LASIK surgery or the cornea-based surgeries were done at a younger age when patients did not have a cataract and they just used to remove the glasses.
Yes.
But now there are lenses in the market
Yes.
that help in decreasing the power, and the patient can actually live a spectacle-free life.
Yes, that's correct.
So are these lenses fit for everybody, or every XYZ patient can get it done, or is it only for a particular subset of patients?
So I actually I'm seeing an increasing number of patients who want spectacle-free
Yeah.
vision after a cataract surgery,
Yeah.
or even when they don't have a cataract, but they're 40, 45, 50, just with a hint of a cataract coming
Yeah.
in. We do a lot of these patients now, the numbers are increasing. But yeah, and there are so many lenses out there,
Yeah.
and the technology keeps changing every few years. Something new comes up. Progressive lenses, trifocal lenses that were out there, which were not necessarily suited for everyone.
Yeah.
Now there are lenses that come in the place, like extended depth of focus lenses, which you may use. But the point is, and to answer your question, no, not all lenses are suitable for every patient. It's a very case to case based judgment. By and large, they work.
Okay.
By and large, they work for most
The
patients.
final
But then
call is yours or the patient's?
the final call is both. And very often we're in a catch-22 situation where, you want to explain to the patient, ki, hey, this lens is going to do this for you. It's going to
Yeah.
give you vision at all distances. But there is a flip side to it.
Yeah.
It might cause glare. It might cause halos. It might cause issues when you're
So basically
driving
the
at night
patient might
practically.
have problems with
May
these
have.
advanced lenses.
Yes, may have issues.
Okay.
May not. So I usually discuss it with the patient, and then it's a patient choice depending on
Yeah.
his or her lifestyle. So that's something that also is very important
Do you remember your first cataract surgery case?
in training.
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
How was it? How was the night prior? And the night?
No, the night trial was fine. So I remember the first time I did my SICS, because that's what
Yeah.
we start off with in training. And usually the norm is for your senior to stand on your head and,
Yes.
guide you through it.
Yeah.
And I remember he was standing next to me. He's like, this particular step, 20 seconds, not more. Okay. Next step, 1 minute, not more. And I was like, ye kaise, who teaches like this, with a timer? And anyway, that's how it started. And no, we're very good friends, but yeah, that was my first case. Very stressful, but it went well.
Do you remember that patient?
No.
No.
It was one of no, I don't.
I can
But
imagine
the first time I did my phaco, my first phaco,
Phaco is that no stitch surgery, right?
phaco is the no stitch, the minimally invasive surgery, the standard that we do now.
Okay.
That's what we all do. But the first day I finished, that's not something you start off in training. You get it when you're in your second or third year, on your way out. But the first day I did my first case, and I finished the whole thing from start to end. I walk out of the OR and I broke into a dance. I didn't know, everyone was looking, and my boss who was taking, who was doing the training, he's like, I saw that, and I was so embarrassed, but yet so happy. Because that was a memorable
I'm
day.
sure that's a career-defining moment, right? That first surgery.
Yeah, that first surgery.
But of course, there's a flip side to it. There are complications. You must
Of
have had a
course.
complication too.
Of course, a fair bit.
Yeah. If you're operating, you tend to have complications. You're bound to have them.
Yes.
So, do you remember your first complication, a major complication?
My first major complication, plenty in training. I mean, that's how you learn, right?
Yeah.
Someone, my mother, who's also an ophthalmologist, had told me early on. So when I joined private practice, she had told me, and I had a complication. I don't remember what it was. I think it was a nucleus drop. That was my first
So
nucleus
that's
drop,
basically-
which is usually the one of the dreaded complications
Because
you'd
the
want.
cataract,
The cataract
goes
is
inside the eye.
Yes, it was a mature cataract, and it
Yeah.
was something that happens. It's an inevitable thing, but you
Just
feel so
for
bad.
our audience, cataract should be taken out in time, because if they are not, they tend to become harder,
It
and that's
becomes
when
harder
the chance
and
of
more
complications
complicated.
increase.
Yeah.
So you had that complication.
I had
Please.
that complication. It can be managed,
Yeah.
but then as a surgeon, you feel bad. So I went and I, told my mom that, hey, this happened and I'm feeling so bad about it and this and that. And there's one thing she told me, and that has always stayed on,
Yeah.
that the more you operate, you are going to have complications. And any surgeon who says otherwise
It's not
is either lying or is not operating.
Yeah. I agree.
And so that stayed. So every time, and things happen, things do go wrong because we're human. And, but my takeaway is that I learn and I, make sure that this is not a conscious error on my part.
Yeah.
Some things are really not in your hands, but you do your best to manage it
Yeah.
and take care of it. I mean, that's all you can do, right?
Yeah. So if I delve into a bit more darker side, so let's say it is bad luck, right? A complication happens.
Yeah.
So whose bad luck is it? The surgeon or the patient's?
Both, I guess.
Both? And just combined.
It's just bad luck.
Yeah, coincided.
Yeah, just bad timing.
How do you deal with it?
I don't get as affected in the sense I don't internalize it anymore that way, like, oh my God, feel bad. Because, complications happen, but how you manage it, how you deal with it, and how you give your patient the best possible outcome is what is important.
Yeah.
You can't just sit down and say, oh my God, ye ho gaya, ab main kya karu?
Yeah.
You want to, the doctor, the scientist, and you want to get a solution.
Yeah.
And you be upfront about it, ki, hey, this has happened, but this is what we did, or this is what we will do.
Yeah.
And we will make sure that things are okay.
The best of the best have
Or,
complications.
yeah,
and
it's it happens.
bound to happen. So, Dr. Shah, you've also trained in refractive surgery, right? So that's the art of spectacle removal.
Yes.
And that's a very technology-infested science, right? So
Yes.
there's lots of technology that is changing. It's coming in every day.
Yes.
There's a revolution that's happened. And there were patients who in the yesteryear were coming only for cosmetic purposes. But now that has expanded to different horizons, and patients are getting it done for different, I would say, different forays of their life, and for some government job, or probably a requirement in their profession or their hobbies. So, what do you think refractive surgery today as a science is, and are we, India as a country, are we ahead or are we lagging behind in the science?
I feel India is ahead or at par because there are so many, developments happening in India. So many
Right.
machines that are, being launched are tested in India.
Yeah.
You were on the,
On the
what do you
silk.
say, the board when Silk was being
Yeah.
tested in India.
Yeah.
I was a part of ADOS.
Yes. Yes.
When it was in the pre-design stage back when I was in fellowship. So all these things, machines are being made, new technologies being developed, it's
Yeah.
constantly there. I feel India is doing a great job.
Yeah, but there's this big jargon of different words. How do you the patient is confused, who are doctors? Why? Because let's say I'm a single practicing surgeon who has a small practice, who has X machine,
Yes.
right? And another single practicing surgeon gets Y, and he says Y is better. Of course, the patient will hear what is being broadcasted on social media, right?
Yes.
So how do you convince yourself that the machine that you're using is good, and how do you convince the patient, right, that this machine is good and that machine is not bad either?
Yes.
Because there's a lot of hoo-ha on internet saying that
Correct.
X is better than Y.
Correct.
So yeah,
When it comes to convincing myself, I go and check it out for myself.
yeah,
I will use the machine or read up about it, or as much as possible use it.
Yeah.
We have a network and so many platforms available. We can actually try and see what works,
yeah,
not just go by what someone else is saying, but do it for yourself. Read the literature, see what's there, see the data. Okay.
Yeah.
Only when I'm convinced can I actually convince my patient.
right.
So that's that. And as far as when patients come in, say we have an X particular technology that we're using, I very simply tell them that this is a brand.
Yeah,
And if I'm convinced that A, B, and C are similar or equivalent,
yeah,
but just different brands,
yeah,
that's how I tell them that it's a different brand. But the procedure, what we're doing, the outcome that you're going to get is going to be the same.
right.
Okay, we have this, and this has, excellent results and consistently over the last so many years. So this is what we can offer you.
Okay, so these procedures, namely LASIK, Contour LASIK, wave light technology, Silk, Smile, Clear, they're all procedures that are done on the cornea, right?
Yes.
So they all have certain amount of limits to them.
Yes.
Like we need to have a certain amount of thickness of the cornea. The power
Yes.
should be such. But yeah, there are options which for corneas which are very thin or the powers which are very high.
Yes.
Can we dive into that and can we discuss those options for patients whose powers is very, very high?
Yes.
So what options do they have?
So there are two options that
Yeah.
one would win. And these are lens-based procedures. So
Okay.
when the corneal thickness is not adequate, or if the shape is not, optimum for any
Right.
laser-based procedure, be it
Right.
PRK, LASIK, or a lenticule-based procedure,
Right.
then the next option that I would think about is something called an ICL, which is a phakic IOL.
Yes.
Okay, so implantable columnar lens or contact lens, or
yeah.
multiple names, but it's a phakic IOL. Phakic
Right.
because the natural lens is intact. What we're doing is putting a specialized lens inside the eye in that little narrow limited space.
So the patient doesn't take out the lens, right?
The patient doesn't have to put
Yeah,
the lens.
like a
It's
contact
placed
lens.
inside the eye, and
Okay.
no, it is not visible from the outside. It's not going to fall out. It's a surgery and it is properly placed.
Right.
Okay, it's a made to measure lens, so it fits properly and to the measurements of the eye, to your eye power.
Yeah.
Okay, however, that also has its criteria. Okay, there are strict selection criteria. Not everyone can go ahead with it. There has to be, if we're placing a lens inside the eye, which is already a very narrow space,
Because the eye is very small.
utni jagah honi chahiye. So it can't, if the space is narrow, then we naturally can't use that technique.
Yeah.
If that is not possible, Then there is another procedure which is called a refractive lens exchange or a
Okay.
clear lens extraction, wherein we remove the lens. So it's similar to doing a cataract surgery, but in
there's
the
no
absence,
cataract.
there's no cataract.
Okay.
Okay, and then we replace it with an artificial lens, which, one of the progressive lenses which covers vision at all distances, mimicking your natural vision as much as possible. So these are the two options that one would think of if a laser-based corneal procedure is not possible.
Okay. So let's say for a patient who does not want to wear glasses,
Right.
is scared of surgery, and is happy wearing contact lenses, how do you, what precautions should the patient take when he or she is wearing contact lenses day in, day out for 15, 16 hours a day?
Right.
Is that healthy?
No, it's not healthy. People do it all the time, but as
Yeah.
an ophthalmologist, we always see the other end,
Yes,
when they come in with
yes.
problems and all. Having said that, people do use contact lenses. They've been around for years now. It's not unsafe.
Yes.
Okay, in someone who has a high number. In fact, it's definitely better than wearing glasses in terms of the vision outcome that you would
Yeah.
get. So what I tell them is to be careful about the hygiene. You don't you make sure you wash your hands before you are applying or removing your lenses. Use a proper case. Don't use expired solutions. Don't use water. Just be a little particular about that. By and large, that's what I would explain.
Have you ever seen complication happening with contact lenses?
All the time.
Really? What's
Because
the most common?
that's the end that we see. So I'm
Yeah.
usually wary of contact lenses
Yeah.
myself. So if I were to advise someone, okay, wear glasses, or if you don't want to, then get refractive surgery done.
Okay.
That way.
And so,
What are the complications?
yes,
I've
the worst
seen,
one that you've seen.
The worst one, just a very bad infection.
Really?
Yeah.
And they tend to damage your eye permanently, the infections?
Well, that person ended up with a scar that caused proper damage. I mean, that would have required a transplant after a
So
point.
from wearing contact lenses, the patient went to a corneal transplant.
To a corneal transplant, yes.
So that way, I think a
So the
refractive surgery is...
patient forgot that there was a contact lens in his eye and came back to me after weeks, and I found that it was rolled up in his upper lid somewhere. And the entire cornea which is the front part, was just like melting, and it was in very bad shape. He was lucky that it had not burst open.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
that was it.
It's better to get a refractive surgery done.
Oh, most definitely.
For people, especially who are wearing contact lenses day in, day out.
Most definitely. And I mean, that's a worst case scenario, and gross negligence, I would
Yes,
say.
yes.
But even day in, day out, we see so many patients who have contact lens, chronic contact lens use, and then they have allergies and, dryness, severe dryness, or, lot of allergy in the eye itching. It's a foreign body after all. It's a foreign particle after all.
Right.
So then to such patients, and, they keep coming in, my eyes red. So then you may as well just let go of that and, be done with refractive surgery, since these patients clearly don't want to wear glasses.
Right.
So make your life easy.
So thank you for joining us, Dr. Shreya. Your insights were valuable, and hopefully our audience can learn something from this, and hopefully we meet again and we chat again. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me here. It was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.